G'day and welcome back to the channel. We're doing SummerSlam 2017 today by the WWE, and first off, holy fuck, that's 6 hours, guys. 6 fucking hours and it's probably even more once you include the pre-show and everything in its entirety, but 6 hours. I mean, I hope when you...
An hour and a half long pre-show.
Yeah, I hope when you fucking get home that that's your evening, because, I mean...
That's your day.
Yeah, that's it, because it's just like, oh my goodness. So I'm sorry if, as this review goes on, some of the details get sparse and they get reduced down to dot points. It's just like, fucking...
Because the show was so trash, though.
6 hours, and that's like... Man, they expect a lot from a weekend as well, because it's like the previous day, you'd have your 2.5 hours or so of NXT TakeOver.
Yeah, the same city, so like it's possible that there's one person can get all of it.
Man, so one of the things that I'm thinking of, and you know, I rarely give a fuck about this, but it occurred to me, man, those fucking poor kids in the audience. And it's like,
yeah, they'd be bored shitless.
Yeah, it'd be like, what? Especially since they got their guy John Cena straight up. It's like, so who are they waiting for? Who are these kids waiting for?
I don't know, maybe Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
The kids like Brock Lesnar.
I think that the edgy teens like Brock Lesnar, and I'm fine with Brock Lesnar. The edgy teens are there
for Finn Balor, Stuart Miller.
I'm not even sure they do.
Well, that they think they do, but they don't know why. They're like Ryan.
On that note of burying Ryan, let's talk about other people that have been buried, like the Intercontinental Championship itself, because that was the very first match on the pre-show. In fact, most of the people hadn't even gotten into the building yet because it was that early. So, I mean, we started off with The Miz and the Miztourage, consisting of Curtis Axel and Bo Dallas. And Maurice was there as a support, versing Jason Jordan and the Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff. So, I was like, man...
That's fucking stacked, like...
Yeah! And I was just like, holy shit. So, for the first match of the night, we are getting the Hardy Boys, and the Intercontinental Championship is here, but it's not being defended.
I mean, my guy was like... First fucking, not even like pre-show. That was what I was there for. I had to sit through the rest of it.
Yeah, so it's like, if you were there, Jesse, you'd have the Miz, and then you're like, fuck.
I would miss the Miz and then wonder where the IC belt is.
Yeah, you'd get in there and you'd be like, man, what the fuck? What are they showing here up on this, like, Titantron? When did this happen? But, you know, we get Curtis and Matt starting off, and somewhat weirdly, like, Matt immediately tags in Jeff as soon as he gets the headlock with Curtis in. So, Jeff was, like, all, you know, ecstatic and excited as he usually is, and he hit the poetry in motion. And this would cause Jason Jordan to get tagged in. Jason Jordan being Kurt Angle's son and all. This was one of his... The Miz is upset at the fact that he perceives Jason Jordan to be getting opportunities, like showing up on the fucking pre-show, that the Miz apparently... he really
had to work for that pre-show.
Yeah, Miz is just like, what the fuck, man? That's what my Miztourage is for. So, anyway, we get that, and I will say this about Jason Jordan. He was incredibly clean in everything that he did. It was... You can
definitely Kurt Angle's son.
Yeah, man. You can tell that must be genetic. So, we see some really good mat work from Jason Jordan against Bo Dallas, and it's interesting to see what Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel are doing these days, because I feel like this suits them for where they are at the moment, and obviously there'll be people out there that prefer, man, I wish that Curtis Axel was going and saying, like, he was second perfection again, and it was just like... Or they wish that Bo Dallas was still doing the Bo Leave thing, but I'm like, they weren't getting anywhere with that, and at least Miz is keeping them relevant by having them in this Miztourage, even if it is a minor role.
Miz is keeping everything relevant.
He really is. He's certainly making the Intercontinental Championship more relevant, but that being said...
It's so legitimate now.
Yeah, exactly. First fucking match in the pre-show. But anyway, Jeff would go to jump from the top rope, but Bo was pulled out of the way, so Jeff kind of just sort of stuttered a little bit up there. He's like, well, where am I fucking going now that Curtis Axel has, like, taken him out of the ring? So So then immediately, Jeff goes out, takes him back to the ring, and The Miz, surprisingly, well, not really, I suppose, because I've always said that, and I think it's just because I discount The Miz because when he first got in, it was just like so weird, and I've just always had that perception of him, and it's an unfair perception, but he has become a really solid worker. And when I say that, I don't mean exceptional. I just mean that if he goes in there, he's not going to fuck up. And
yeah, well, it's every day, bro.
Well, I'm not going to go that far, but Miz was in there having his everyday flow, and he was going in there.
You said you weren't gonna.
I wasn't gonna what? But anyway, so Matt Hardy goes in, and you get, this is probably one of the only times that I'm not going to describe this as, it's just a fucking pre-show match, because I felt like there was a lot here, and there was a lot of people giving their best here. Like, I was surprised that...
I liked all the people involved.
Yeah. Even
that was decent.
Even Jason Jordan, he went in there and completely cleaned house. Like, he destroyed Bo and Curtis, and it was just like, even the very ending, which was just like Miz secretly tagging in while Jason Jordan is about to, deliver that final move, and then all of a sudden Miz is like, well, I'm the legal man now, runs up behind him while he's focused on the other guy, and he just hits him with the skull-crushing finale, so Miz was able to pin Jason Jordan for the win. And so not only does this make The Miz look like, hey, you know what, I'm still strong as champion, but he still gets those heel points as well. And it doesn't really hurt Jason Jordan, because he went in there and he was destroying everybody. And it also elevates him to be like, hey, he's working with the Hardys, and, he didn't feel out of place with them. No. So it's like, it was really good, and I was like, oh, maybe this is a sign of good things to come. Yeah, we'll get through it. So...
it's not.
Your thoughts on The Miz, Jesse, as usual, and Jason Jordan, Kurt Angle's son?
Well, I like The Miz. I like his character. I like everything he does in the mic. His ring work is it's average. It's usable.
Mm-hmm.
And really, he's there to have someone else do impressive stuff too. And I feel like he achieved that.
He's perfect as an enhancement talent.
Yeah. He's Booster Gold, basically.
But yeah, so I was really impressed with that match, and I was like, hey, you know what? That was good. Our next pre-show match, because there was 3 of them, because of how long the pre-show was.
An hour and a half, you're gonna fucking fill that out, right?
Yeah, like, it wasn't even an hour and a half, dude. Like, including ads and everything, it's 2 hours.
Jesus Christ.
I know, right? So, our next match was for the WWE Cruiserweight title, which was Neville versus the Cruiserweight champion Akira Tozawa, with his manager Titus O'Neil from Titus Worldwide.
Worldwide?
Here's how I feel about this match. I feel that this match was great, but it was interrupted by that stupid chant thing that he does.
Yeah.
Every time he does that, I'm just like, don't. It's like... It's almost bringing him down. Like, he's good in the ring. He's always able to keep up with the other cruiserweights. In fact, in some areas, Tozawa excels. Like, he has that more brutal and stiff working style that can really get over and show him as someone that's of a different level to everyone else in that cruiserweight division.
The Neville level?
He's not on the Neville level, and we'll find that out in this match. But it's just like, we get a flying shoulder tackle from Tozawa, and Tozawa and Neville just had these great sequences of moves that were going well together and showing that this is what the Cruiserweight division should be about.
Yeah,
Once
there was
again,
a cool moment or two after, like, in the first little section of it, like, Tozawa was, like, holding his own against him and even beating Neville, and Neville just, like, goes out of the ring and just, like, alright, what am I doing?
And this is the first time you'd ever heard the terminology for the running knee of the Shining Wizard.
Yeah, what the fuck is a Shining Wizard?
Well, now you know. Now you know that if you ever run and knee someone while they're sitting down, that's a Shining Wizard.
So stupid.
It's like we were saying with NXT. It's like some people like to put fancy names on the most modern and, like, normal of things.
You mean like...
The Koji Katami?
You mean like John Cena?
Yeah, like the Standing Fireman's Carry being the AA. I remember when John Cena first broke in, and he tried to be edgy, and he called that the FU.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wasn't any better, and somehow it's just
There
remained
was the
just as
NCF,
bad.
which is still the same name because apparently that isn't. Well, it's the attitude adjustment now, isn't it?
Yeah, now it's the attitude adjustment, the AA.
It used to be the shut.
Because he's changed his attitude, and it's time for them to adjust their attitude accordingly.
Oh, but he's still a straight G, also / Marine.
So we get lots of great kicks in this match, and Tozawa's Hurricane Rana.
You could say it's mostly kicks.
Yeah. And it was very sad to see that there is so much potential in this division. Like, we always make jokes about it, but it's like, now that we think about it, we've got Mr. Neville, we've got Akira Tozawa, Rich Swann, as you mentioned, and it's like, those guys are great, and when we watch them, it's like, we know that this is going to be...
They're being wasted in the 205. Like.
Yeah, it's like... And the worst part about it is, there is a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to go through here, and it's like, this match is better than those things, and this is on the pre-show, and it's like, it's always on the pre-show with the Cruiserweights, and it's like, the people who pay for their tickets can't even see it sometimes, because they won't be in the building yet. And it's just like, they're always on the pre-show, and yet they're saying, why is it failing? And it's like, you don't give it enough prestige. You don't make people feel like it's something to care about. You're just saying, here it is, if you want it, you got it. That's all we can offer you. But anyway, Tozawa goes for his trademark senton off the top rope, and Neville manages to get his knees up at the very last second, which allows Neville to go up to the top, hit the red arrow, and
attach the red dragon to his.
Yeah, I don't know why the fuck they were saying that there's a dragon burst at the end of his arrow. I don't know what the fuck they're going on about there. The commentary is usually quite shit.
Well, it's because the Shining Wizard enchanted it.
There we go. You need a wizard to fight a dragon, or so I've been told from tabletop. But with that red arrow hitting, we get Neville reclaiming his Cruiserweight title.
Fucking king of Cruiserweight.
He's back, and I've got to hand it to Neville. The couple of days that he hasn't had that title, every appearance he had, he looked disheveled, and he was like,
he was like losing it. It's like, fucking, I'm not.
Yeah, he's like, if I'm not the king of the Cruiserweights, then what am I?
What am I? Just the Cruiserweight?
And he's just like philosophically breaking himself down. Is there really a Neville level? It's just like,
what is the Neville level?
But yeah, and I don't think Tozawa is incredibly hurt by losing this title. The fact that he claimed it is, it shows that he has that ability, and it shows people that if there is a rematch in the future, which, considering the creative bankruptcy that 205 Live has, there probably will be, it's like, it's going to have people knowing, hey, there's a chance that this title could change again. But yeah, so, good match. Once again, not pre-show worthy. Then we have Elias. He comes out and he starts to sing and play his guitar to the people of Brooklyn. You know what? I'm not going to shit on this. Yeah, I'm not going to shit on this because it's just like, he did it so well. I mean, for the limited...
He's actually playing the guitar and he's actually singing, and it's like, hey, this is good.
I mean, yeah, he's doing the best with his gimmick that you could do with that gimmick. And the fact that he had that crowd interaction where they were booing him super hard, and he's like, all right, gonna start again. Because I said, yeah, I guess we'll start again because I told you to hold your applause to the end. And I was like, that's pretty good. And I'm pretty sure that's like one of the edgiest things that the WWE has ever done, letting him say balls. I mean, I know it's the pre-show, so it's like, it might not be syndicated television since it's on the network, but still, I wasn't expecting that, and so I was like, ooh. But, and then the fact that at the end of that, he's just like, the lights fade to black, and they come back on, and he's like, so you wanted an encore? And it's just like, yeah, I'm like, you know what, that's great. And, they're keeping Elias in the minds of the audience and the people watching at home, so eventually when they do decide to do something with him, people will be like, oh, okay, I know this guy. And he was... he was getting pretty fucking, like, booed by the entire crowd. Like, they hated him, so it was like, good work. Our next match might be a little controversial, because you know how we generally feel about one of the parties here. But the next match was for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, and that was the Usos versus the defending champions, the New Day. Now, the New Day come out, and of course they hit their promo, which is trying to get them over and everything. And we're told that they're dressed like Red Lanterns. Now, here's the thing. I was thinking, hey, you know what? Those symbols kind of look like Red Lanterns, but why are they wearing Saiyan armor? And so I was like, so I don't get what they're doing.
It's just the Saiyan armor painted red.
Yeah, and that's it. I was just like, I don't get it. And then when later on they're like, oh, dressed as the Red Lanterns to show their rage. I was like, that's
dressed as Finn Balor for a bit.
well, they dressed
fucking up his dick.
Well, I mean, the reasoning behind it as well, it's like to show the Usos our rage. It's like, that's fucking dumb. You're dumb. Anyway. So, Jimmy and Xavier started the match. And, man, there was lots of wrestling Xavier Woods. Like, they did not allow...
I mean, because Xavier was... I thought he was decent in that match.
No, and that's the thing. We're seeing more about Xavier Woods, because there's been so many matches that he just hasn't been involved in. He's usually outside playing the trombone. And so it's just like, when we see him actually get in the match, we're like, okay, well, let's see what you can do. And I also think it's because Big E gets tired very quickly. And so they're like, okay...
So you need him in the match, because he's supposed to be the full stop of the New Day.
And it's like... The Usos did something, and the Usos are good. I'm not going to ever say that I hate them, because they're very competent as a tag team. And they've gotten more agreeable with me as the years go on, because I'm just like, you know, they're changing, and their opponents are always people that I don't like, so it's like, okay, so, you know, let's see how this goes. But one of the things they did that I didn't really get is they both headbutted Xavier Woods' feet at the same time. And I was like,
junkyard dogging him.
And I was like, oh, all right. I guess that's what we're gonna do. They're headbutting his souls. But I mean, so anyway, Xavier was like, he was the main dude of the match. He was in there for the longest time, and when he finally did fight his way over to Big E got in and did the belly to belly suplex to Jay. Now Big E would then pick up Xavier Woods and powerbomb him onto one of the Usos, and Xavier reciprocated by lifting up Big E on his shoulders and then dropping him there. And that was impressive, because I didn't think he was going to do that.
He was also, it was something definitely different, you know. Yeah,
and you know, they say variety is the spice of life, and I feel like once you see all these matchups, and usually with the WWE, you get those pay-per-views that are like, here's the fucking rematch pay-per-view, where it's just the same things as last pay-per-view, but, you know,
because they split our fucking talent, so you have nothing to do with that talent.
Exactly, and I feel that's something that we're going to get into later with the women's divisions, but it's like, we get a double spine buster to Big E by the Usos, and then Xavier tagged in and hits Jimmy with the backstabber. So, Jimmy Uso and Xavier started to trade chops with each other, and eventually the match would spill out of the ring, and Big E would try to jump through the ropes, but he got super kicked. So he sort of just hung there for a bit, which would cause the Usos to go up onto corners, and they would do a splash to Big E, and then the other one did a splash to Xavier Woods. Xavier managed to get out of that, and Jesus Christ, if there's one main detraction from this match, there's too many 2 counts, too many false finishes. I mean, it was crazy. Like, there was just false finish after false finish, and it was just like, okay, enough's enough.
Every time they go to pin, they look at the clock, say, oh shit, it's a couple more minutes.
Yeah, and that's just it. It was like, okay guys, this is getting a little ridiculous, and I feel like the crowd, well, some of them were in it the whole way through. There was some of them that were noticeably getting a little, okay guys, we get it. You're trying to steal the show on a pre-show. You're trying to show, we should be, you know, on the main...
Little did we know.
Yeah. So, Anyway, Xavier did a tornado DDT outside the ring. Once again, everything happened outside the ring at that point, and once they finally did return to the ring, the Usos hit a double splash on Big E for the pin, which means that the Usos won the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Championships by pinfall. Your thoughts on the match, Jesse, and the overall, I suppose, since this was the last pre-show, how do you feel about the pre-show now that you've seen the whole thing?
I didn't mind the pre-show. Like, if I could just watch the pre-show and nothing else, I reckon I would have been satisfied with that. Just because, like, 3 matches, and it's like, hey, it's all the fan favorites, right? I mean, even though not my favorite, like, people like the New Day for whatever reason. And it's good to, like, actually have, like, a belt change in the pre-show and stuff. Like, it makes it more relevant, but...
And there was 2.
It does kind of cheapen the rest of it, but, like, you know, just as the matches by themselves, it was decent. Even the New Day match wasn't, like, you know, disagreeable, because there was something, you know.
And that's it. It's like, I don't like the New Day. I think that's pretty obvious, but I'm not going to sit here and say that match was shit, because it wasn't.
I mean, their intro was shit, because it's always shit.
Yeah, it's like...
The wrestling was decent.
Yeah, once we got to the ring and we started doing, you know, mannerisms aside, the actual ring work was great. And I'm not going to say that it was the best match, but by no means was it the worst. And once again, we have solid tag teams at work here. So it's like they know how to do a tag match. I think at the pre-show, you know, you hit on something there. If I could just watch either the pre-show or the actual main pay-per-view, I would have fucking watched the pre-show, because not only was it 3 good matches, like there wasn't a single bad one there, they were all decent, and they all had title changes, and I'm not saying that a title change is necessary, but it was unexpected, because I was like, okay, these are going to be the throwaway matches like usual, and they weren't, so it was nice.
More of that for your actual thing you paid money for, maybe, WWE.
Yeah. So, I mean, we start off the pay-per-view, and the first thing I fucking hear is John Cena's theme. And it's like, okay, so we've...
And it's like, oh, we're in it, boys.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, guys, you're 2 hours in. We've finally managed to fucking hit the actual pay-per-view. John Cena's theme, and it's just like, fuck. And, Baron Corbin comes out afterwards. Now, before I even get into this match, I think that what they did with the briefcase was fucking stupid. What did it accomplish? Because he didn't cash it in, so he looked like an idiot. He's the 3rd person in history to fail the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Yeah, there was even that chant, "Where's your briefcase?"
Yeah. Which, you know, kudos to the actual Brooklyn crowd for having a new chant for once. I've got to give you guys kudos.
The crowd was pretty decent all night, really.
Yeah, and I feel like that's because New York is a wrestling city, and the WWE, that's like always been their prime territory. I mean, you can't wrestle, I know it wasn't in Madison Square Garden, but you can't wrestle in the Garden unless you're with the WWE brand. You just can't. They have that contract for life. So, I mean, when Baron loses that briefcase, I'm like, all this build's been for nothing, unless there's, you know, there is hinting at something that I might be like, okay, cool, but it really was such a blow to his character, and the fact that it's like, oh yeah, but now he and John Cena are going to have a match at SummerSlam. They announced their match at SummerSlam before that. And so it's like, okay, so now he's going to have a match with John Cena with no consequence, and it's just building up that match that has no consequence. But anyway, we did get that "Where's your briefcase" chant, and something that I alluded to just before was they've changed Baron Corbin's character, and I like it. They made him very hateful, and they made him very angry and cynical, because he's lost his briefcase, and he's like, that was everything I worked for, and you took it away. So every time someone in the crowd would say something to him, he would immediately snap back, and he would be like, You suck, you're nothing. I make more money than you. He would be saying all these things every single time. And, you know, obviously that would play into the fact that, you know, John Cena would eventually beat him and win this match. And they would say that, okay, well, you know, Corbin wasn't in his right mind for that, so at least he has maybe some form of an excuse to that. But it's just
temporary insanity.
But I liked this intensity that he had, where he was so angry, and all of his moves looked like they had more of this aggressiveness to them, where it's just like, I am just fucking, you have ruined everything that I had. And it's like, he knows that even if he wins, that's not going to solve anything. And he's just like, I liked that. And if he can continue to have this and be more cynical, more aggressive, and just show this more angry side of him in, like, promos and stuff like that, instead of just... Don't get me wrong, I liked him before when he did his promos of just being, like, snarky heel that's just like, I'm just better than you, and that kind of stuff. But this could be the fire that his character needs to just, you know, this could be the spark that will ignite him into something more than just mid-carder. And I'm looking forward to that. As for the match itself, it's against John Cena. I mean, like...
It's a John Cena match.
Yeah, we had a very high choke slam from Baron Corbin that I don't think he's ever done before. And, you know, we had backbreakers and a deep six to Cena, which was also good looking. But, I mean, you know it, I know it, we all knew it. John Cena hit the AA for the victory. And because he was being booed so much, there was the John Cena sucks chant. John literally went around the ring at the end of the match after he won, and he literally hugged an old lady.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're going this far.
Hugged this girl, and then he went up and hugged an old lady.
I'm like, you're going this far to show that, like, oh, he's the good guy. Why are you guys chanting this negative stuff? You can't boo him. He's a nice guy. It's like, fuck you. It's this pandering shit that makes people hate him more, and I feel like they don't understand it. Maybe it's because Vince is just like, well, how can they boo someone that's so nice? But, you know, we'll just show him doing all these nice things. And I feel people are too smart for that now. And it's like, it just really rubs more salt in the wounds. So this match is really nothing. I just like the potential of the Baron Corbin character coming out of this. But apart from that, I mean, he still lost his briefcase to John Cena. And, I mean, that means every single time someone's lost a cash and it's had Cena involved in some way. All three times.
That's how you break the odds. You just beat John Cena, I guess.
Rise above hate. Next we have Natalya versus Naomi for the WWE SmackDown Women's
what a shit show
Championship. Alright, so Jesse, you got some stuff to say here, so what... Get it off your chest.
Okay, first of all, let's just mention Natalya's meatball hair.
Mm-hmm. It looks dumb.
Let's just throw that out there. Sailor Moon didn't look good wearing it. Why would you look good wearing it?
Now, do you think that this is because she wants people to hate her?
Maybe. Like, is she going for the Jericho thing?
Maybe. I mean...
Like, that's what Jericho did. Just, let's do a hairstyle. That'll make them hate me.
Yeah. I mean...
And I feel like at least she has a personality now, right? Like, they're doing something with her. I don't know how long it'll last.
That's
because they're not, like... The small bits you see of her actually doing stuff is decent, but then it always ends with a fucking sharpshooter.
Yeah. But of course it is, though, right? I mean...
Yeah, but fucking... I kind of don't want it to be, you know? I don't know.
Well, here's your problem. It's like... You've been watching Natalya for, 7 years now, and every match always comes down to, will she get the sharpshooter on? And while that was a factor in Bret Hart, like, if he gets the sharpshooter on you, he can win, that wasn't the only deciding factor of his matches.
Like, he's the fucking hitman. He just beats him. He's like, what if Mr. Perfect also had an amazing submission move?
Well, and, you know, it's like, when you try and compare Natalya to her uncle Bret Hart, it's like, that's such an unfair comparison to Bret. I mean, because like Bret's like...
Curtis Axel and
I feel like Brett's on this other level, and then they're like, man, you're like Natalia's like the female version of you, and I feel like he must have that part where he's like, 4 out of 10. But like we get a knee slide into a slap by Naomi. I don't even know what you'd call that, but that's what we got.
That's knee slapper. Good fucking joke, Stuart.
Jesus Christ. So I will say that we did get a great looking suplex from Natalya. But this match, like, you watch it and you're just like, you kind of going through the motions because you're like, they're not really doing anything here that's worth talking about. Well, and
it's nothing offensive, but there's also nothing interesting.
Like, am I supposed to, say, wow, Natalya's choking her neck on the ring ropes with her leg? It's like, what's impressive, or that feels like such a non-thing to talk about almost. It's just like, there's no oomph to that move. It's just like, this is the 4 seconds of doing this before the ref says, you've got till 5. And it's like, alright.
If it's for a storyline purpose of like, well, I gotta weaken the neck so I can go for the fucking move.
And Natalya was great with her submissions in this match. She was, doing all these different submissions, and I mean, even Naomi had that one move where she was standing on one leg and she sort of cartwheeled back and kicked her with the. I was like, hey, that looks good. But I mean, like, I don't want to just hate on Naomi, but like, I feel like what passion I had like for her being champion when she first became champion is gone now. I'm just like, I don't have that anymore. And the fact that she constantly doesn't have matches, I personally feel, this is not fact, this is just my own presumptions, I feel like they don't let her have a lot of matches because they don't want to showcase that, she's not exactly there yet to be the champion level. She's not, I always say this, and fucking Jinder Mahal's champion, but, I personally feel that she needs a little bit extra work. She's got a great ring entrance, the people are behind her, and that is a great plus, and that is more than fucking Jinder Mahal has. And it's like, I just feel like when she's there, for the most part, she'll just have a lackluster experience, and you're just going to get the below average and the basics, essentially. And Natalya can do the basics well, and so that's why I feel like at the end of the day, this match wasn't egregious. It was just like, there. It was nothing to write home about, but it's nothing.
It was good enough for a house show, and maybe not for SummerSlam.
Exactly. It's like, the fact that everything on the pre-show is better than this is like, I mean, we really need to think about what we're doing there. Obviously, I think there would be a little bit of a hubbub if they were to take any of these major championships, like the Women's Championship, or even some of the other championships, like the, the WWE Championship or the Universal Championship, put those on a pre-show. That would never happen. Yeah. But it's like, I also
feel like half of the problem is the women's division isn't big enough, and hopefully they'll fix that with that new event. Like, they get some new talent in there, so they can mix up the storyline and give them the reason to actually fight.
Yeah, and
it's I think just I'm a heel now because I decided to be a heel.
And that's what I feel like. The Mae Young Classic is being held because WWE sees they've already done almost every single matchup they can conceive in that women's division, and by dividing it between the two brands, they've only made it worse.
Good. They need someone good there so they can fucking bring Asuka in and have her not just be useless.
So, Naomi actually managed to escape the first sharpshooter by using her legs to force Natalya's head to the bottom of the turnbuckle and hit that, and Naomi then did the split-legged moonsault, but it was countered by the knees of Natalya, and Natalya would then hit that second sharpshooter, and she would win via submission. I'm fine with that. I don't know who is going to be in this SmackDown women's title picture, and to be honest, I don't particularly care. There's no one there that...
I'm just glad it was a singles match.
Yeah, I don't see anybody there that I'm like, man, I can't wait to see this matchup against Natalya. And, that might just be my own personal tastes, but that's how I feel. So I'm like, you know what, whatever happens here, I don't particularly care. But that's that match. Now, speaking of matches that I don't particularly care about, our next match, we see Enzo come out to go into a shark cage. And then Big Cass comes out for his match with Big Show, with Enzo Amore suspended above the ring. Now,
that match was like, it does nothing.
Yeah, not to mention that, as you mentioned yourself, this is just the exact copycat of the friendship line between Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. They did this exact same thing. And after it's like, oh no, these friends... Oh, no.
Except the difference is Jericho can fight his own battles.
Yeah, and it's like, Jericho could also fucking sell being in a cage more than Enzo did. And I feel like one of the things that you're going to probably speak harshest about is that Enzo did not shut up.
Oh my god. Like, it's just like, there's this constant noise in the background and it isn't the crowd. The crowd had more interesting things to say than Enzo did.
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, look how he's punching you, fucking Cass. You like that? And it's like, what? Fucking... And like, even the commentator team is like, man, he just does nothing for fucking Enzo.
Well, you commented on the fact that the commentators were just like, man, look at Big Show's southpaw style. And it's like, just because he's using his left hand?
Yeah. People that fucking do conventional boxing use their left hand.
Anyway, it's like they've never heard of, like, the left jab. But anyway, only, orthodox boxers can use their right hands to jab. I mean, that's all they do. They just fucking put their other left hand tied behind their back. Yeah. Oh, man. So, we get fucking Big Cass being graced with Big Show just continuously making these fucking mistakes. Like, there were so many times where Big Show just hurt himself. Like, Big Show would always fucking hurt his own hand with no interference from fucking Cass for that first part of the match. Like, he would fall on his hand, or he would rest his hand and he'd be like, ah! And you're just like, Cass isn't even doing most of the damage. It's you doing it to yourself. And so it's just like, oh, great.
Cass didn't get over because the Big Show was still fucking beating the shit out of him even with the injury. Big Show doesn't get over because he's constantly hurting himself like an idiot. And Enzo doesn't get over because he's just stuck in a cage yelling. And then he fucking escapes, and Cass just kicks him and he's down forever.
Never did I think that I would say in a fucking review for a pay-per-view, and then the dude stripped down and oiled up.
Stripped down to his boxers, pulled out some oil from his crotch and oiled himself down.
And once he was all oiled up, he managed to escape out of the cage to a climactic boot in the face. And when I say climactic, I definitely 100% mean that sarcastically, because as soon as he landed,
Cass kicks him and then he's just down and he stays there for the rest of the match.
And I'm like, what was the fucking difference in...
Oh, so we could see Enzo do funny things.
And you know what? It's like, it wasn't funny, and all it did is show that, wow, Enzo really is the most shit person on that roster.
Cool. It would have been really cool if, like, he had done it, like, and then landed on top of Cass, and then, like, did some, like, Hurricane Runner or something.
But he didn't.
Like, beat him. But no, he had no fucking gravity on the match at all.
And not only that, but it's just like, if he'd stayed in the cage, his character would have been protected more, because it's like, oh, he couldn't, interrupt, or he couldn't do anything. No, he did interrupt, and the first fucking thing that happened to him was he was knocked the fuck out, once again, making himself redundant in the whole picture of the Raw roster. Like, when I think to myself, man, Gentleman Jack Gallagher could kick the shit out of Enzo, it's like, that's not a fucking position you want to be in anyone's mind.
Fuck.
But, to be fair, like, Big Cass did... he did some wrestling moves, like he did do a wrist lock on Big Show, particularly going after the hand, and, while I'm not going to fucking say that was a good match, because even the crowd was chanting boring, Big Show would forget, like, later on.
Yeah, at the very end.
Yeah.
He does,
After
like, a
the choke
movement.
slam, he would lean on his fucking left hand.
Yeah, and
while
it's like, what's the fucking point if you're not gonna... Like, you're selling it the entire time, and, like, you're injuring yourself by doing the exact same thing, and it's like, oh, I better do it again. Fuck, because I'm an idiot.
Big Cass would walk over Enzo and, you know, eventually deliver the Empire Elbow on Big Show to win. This match was...
I don't know what they're doing with any of them.
Yeah, it's like, who...
Like, Big Show disappears back where he came from.
Mm-hmm.
Enzo becomes a manager.
Like, yeah, it's just like, who got better as the result of this feud? Like, don't get me wrong, Cass is hated now, so at least as a heel, he's got that going for him. But the story of the match is Cass beat a guy who had his best weapon, like, removed out of the equation.
Yeah.
He beat a crippled wrestler, and it's like, great, so you didn't beat the Big Show.
Is it just so they can have a rematch at some point?
I think it's just because they want to keep this Enzo and Cass thing in the minds of people, and it's like, we've got nothing for them. Like, where does Cass go as a singles wrestler?
Stupid to begin with.
Yeah, it's like...
But the entire thing is just, hey, let's ruin this tag team.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh boy, this is not...
Why? Because they're taking New Day's heat, I guess?
You know what?
Like,
and
that's
it's like,
all I can think.
And the New Day's on fucking SmackDown now, so it's like...
Yeah.
There's... I don't know, this was awful. So anyway, we got Kurt Angle talking to Daniel Bryan, and we had, you know, yes, no, and I was like, well, okay, what the fuck was that about?
Remember Daniel Bryan was a wrestler at one point before he, you know, destroyed himself and could never wrestle again because he's shit.
Well, you know, that might be enviable to Rusev, who actually can wrestle, but no one seems to remember that. Like, he was on his last major thing.
Well, why would you care about Rusev when Braun Strowman is the new Rusev?
Yeah, I guess, because it's just like...
I don't know why he's the new Rusev, because Rusev is far superior to him in every single way, but whatever.
I don't know, like...
He's better on the mic, he looks more like a wrestler, he's more competent in the ring. Why would you choose Braun Strowman over Rusev?
Why would you...
Is it because he's too foreign, so he can't be a fucking face? Is that what the problem is?
But that's what they're doing with Jinder. Like, he's that weird face heel where it's like they can't completely make people hate him because it's like, as I said, let's make him have the Indian national anthem, and then you see everyone in the audience fucking booing the Indian national anthem.
What is this fucking saying to everyone?
Yeah, it's like, what is this conveying? Is it like when he comes out and he's like, man, Americans are racist?
Are you actually trying to bill your own fucking
audience
fans as racist?
Yeah, it's just like, they're not booing Jinder, they're booing the Indian national anthem. And it's like, even if you were saying, oh man, but you know, they're only doing that because they dislike Jinder, it's just like, so they're putting Jinder as a representation of India then. And it's like...
The worst part about that national anthem thing is, like, I'm pretty sure no one actually knew it was the national anthem. Because they have this big fucking Bollywood production, and then they have this chick singing. Like, they didn't know it was the national anthem because she just walks up and starts singing.
I suppose.
No one says it's the national anthem. Like, it's like they did it on purpose or something.
Yeah, and it's like, if they did do that on purpose, then you're completely correct in what you said before. It's like they're trying to build their audience as racist to say that Jinder does have some credence to what he's saying. Because the only
Is that how they get Jinder over, by saying that, oh yeah, people that hate him are just racist?
Yeah, because now you can see in vignettes he's like, you don't like me because I'm Indian, and then it will literally show them booing at the national anthem of India, and they're like, oh wow, there's some credence to that now. It's like, Jesus. But like, you know, we've already talked about this more than we've talked about Randy Orton versus Rusev, and we've talked about it longer than their fucking match. Because
I mean, it's not hard, right? I mean,
Rusev...
Goldberg had a longer match.
Yeah, fucking... You're not wrong. Rusev jumped Randy. Randy feigns injury, gets up, bell rings, immediately uses that injury to trick Rusev into running into him and hitting the RKO, wins in like fucking 10 seconds from, you know, bell to bell. It's just like... What was the point of this? Was this to continue the path of Rusev is fucking nothing now? I mean, you took away...
Unless they were like, we need to like recover Randy a bit because he's lost like 3 times to Jinder.
You know what? I'm saying on the record, in my opinion, that Randy Orton is at the level where it's like, he can fucking lose 40 times in a row.
Like, he's like Kane level right now.
Yeah,
like,
he's established. He's like, he's been there for so long, we've seen him do many great things. We know that he can still wrestle.
His head, man. Like,
yeah, and it's just like, he wins here, and all it accomplishes is making Rusev look shit. They took away...
And it robs the fucking fans of a Rusev-Orton match, which could be good. Because they're both very good wrestlers.
And it's like, they take away Lana from Rusev, and they say, you're going into your singles thing, and she's not that great of a wrestler, she's not the worst, but she's not that great, and that takes away some of the unique, special aura she has when she comes on screen, and it's like, now she's just everybody else, because she can't wrestle that great.
Miss Elizabeth, now she's fucking Sensational Sherry.
Yeah, and it's like, when she speaks, and she used to be so arrogant and everything, you'd like, look, she can be arrogant as much as she wants, because, you know...
because she's a non-combatant.
And it's like, what are you going to do about it? The only way you can prove her wrong is to beat Rusev. And
you can't beat Rusev because it's
Rusev. And it's like, now anyone can beat her there. But it's just...
Now anyone can beat Rusev.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, well, I guess these two fucking people are, like, just dead to the world now. But, you know, whatever. We then get fucking...
They have that new couple now, so they don't need those two.
We get, Sasha and Bayley talking out back, and you were happy because when Bayley showed up on screen, the Brooklyn crowd didn't like that.
Brooklyn, man after my own heart.
And so, immediately after that, Sasha's music hits, and she comes out in some fucking frill neck lizard gear. I don't know if it's supposed to be an homage.
Beyonce, Beyonce
is it an homage to Beyonce?
Maybe, I don't know. Does Brooklyn have something to do with frill neck lizards?
Is it something to do with fucking Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who they mentioned earlier that night? I don't know.
Maybe they did.
I'm not sure, but all I can tell you right now is that the crowd, while it was a little bit split later on, immediately they were way more behind Alexa Bliss.
Yeah.
And so it's like Sasha is coming in and she's trying to take that WWE Raw Women's Championship away from Alexa, and people don't want her to. And once again, she's in that position of the face, where people are supposed to want that.
This match could have... I feel like it could have been good. I feel like the two, like, they can be decent wrestlers. I haven't seen anything to prove that, but I feel like, you know, I haven't seen them be shit.
Yeah. And... you know what? It's like, it might have just been that Boston-New York rivalry, even though Alexa isn't, you know, from New York, but they kept saying things and saying, like, man, Alexa went out, and she's like it was really fucking telling, and I'm, obviously, I do like baseball, but it was really telling when they're just like, Alexa's saying that she's like the New York Yankees, because she never loses, and I'm like, wait, as of, like, right now, the Red Sox are number one in the entire league, and they just beat the Yankees. And so it was just weird to me that they're like...
wrestling fans and baseball fans, those two circles don't ever mix. So.
And, you know, you're probably right, but it was just weird to me that they're like, man, this is like, she's the Boston Red Sox and she's the Yankees. And I was like, well, the Red Sox just beat the Yankees.
Thank you for equating this entire thing to something else, something it isn't. You know,
yeah, it's like, and even to people that aren't like me, that don't, you know, like baseball, why are you saying this then? Because it means nothing to anyone else, and to the people that do get the reference that, yeah, she is from Boston, and Alexa was with the Yankees. Yeah, it's just like, we're just like, okay, so you're making the analogy that Alexa sucks, because she, like, the Yankees just lost. It was just weird to me, so I was like, it's strange that they would make these comparisons. But the match mainly was brawling, and like Alexa standing on Sasha's hair, and, you know, general heel stuff. And I always give credit where credit's due. Alexa is good as a heel. Her mannerisms are very, like, you know, spoiled brat, and I think that's the good character for her. She can pull that really well.
I definitely dislike her.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, if you don't like her and her mannerisms and stuff, then she's doing great. Man, everything Sasha did here was kind of average. And it's like,
But she's the boss.
Yeah, and that's it. It's like, you promote yourself very heavily as the boss, and you know what? You can do that. But if you're a face, you can't say that shit, otherwise you just look arrogant. If you can't back that up, then people will be like, you're a liar.
Yeah. Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, like,
yeah.
fuck.
Mr. Perfect was a heel, and the reason a lot of people were just like, he had that tweener status where it's like he could still be a heel, but every time he said, I'm going to do this, he would do it. And it would be like...
Yeah, it's like, well, what can we fucking do against that, right?
Yeah, and everyone's just like, well, you know what? He's a bit of a dirtbag, but he means what he says, and he says what he means. And it's just like... people can have that...
Best match to my memory.
People can have that, like, respect for that. And so when she comes out and she's just like, I'm the boss, and then she just, like, delivers mediocre to everyone, it's just like... You're the boss of what? And it's just like...
She's not the CEO, she's just, she's like a mid-level boss. Right? She's like Abigail.
Sasha did a reversal to have, like, Alexa's neck go hit the turnbuckle, and I feel like that turnbuckle was getting a lot of play ever since the NXT TakeOver.
Yes, we had that.
And you know what? This isn't the first time this happened, so it's like I feel like a lot of people in the roster do tune in, and we saw most of like the people that had been.
Let's watch that developmental program to find out what good wrestling is. Like what?
Let's see those spots that managed to get the crowd to pop. Well, yeah, they're really liking this one thing, but yeah. So I mean, Sasha, I'm pretty sure, got thrown outside of the ring and landed on her shoulder, and that became the thing that she was, like, focusing on. She's like, oh, my shoulder, it's really sore, and every now and again she'd forget it, and every now and again she'd remember it, so it's like, I didn't put too much stock into that. But something that I will say is kind of weird is that Sasha makes it into the ring after, I'm pretty sure, 9 of a 10 count, goes in, and after... a few more movements, she would then go and put Alexa into the bank statement. And the thing that I found weird about this is you need your shoulder and your arm to do that effectively. And if you're selling your shoulder, that just makes no sense.
The boss can fight through the pain, Stuart.
Unlike Alexa, who was like an arm's length away from the rope and didn't try and fucking reach it. She didn't extend her arm fully, and I feel that's just bad positioning on their part, because it's like, if you're going to tap out, and you're going to say, yeah, I'm the spoiled brat, I'm going to tap out...
It better be a sharpshooter in the middle of the fucking ring.
Well, I suppose it works for Alexa, because she is a spoiled brat, so people like she was going to tap anyway, and the fact that she taps when she just really needs to stretch out that little bit further and hit the ropes... I guess it kind of works for her, because people are like, wow, she's that much of a brat.
That's giving them a lot of credit for...
And, I'm just trying to fix this for them, because otherwise this was a really fucking nothing match again. And that sucks, because...
Maybe it's just a nothing match, who knows?
Because it's like, I feel like both of these people can do things.
Yeah, and exactly. Like, they could do have a decent match, but it's just like, will they?
Yeah. It's that constant thing.
Do they feel the need to?
And that's it. It's like, I'm not sure if it's them or it's, they've been given, you have to finish with this, and they just don't know how to incorporate that properly.
Like, look what happened to fucking Shinsuke.
Yeah. So, Jesse, I'm interested to see what you think about the both divisions for the female divisions in Raw and SmackDown. So if you could take that away.
Alright. So, first off, who is in the Raw division? Who's in the SmackDown division? Because I have no fucking idea.
And that's a fucking great question, because it's like, I think Bayley, I think Nia Jax. If there's anyone else, I'm sorry, but I can't think of anyone else in the Raw division.
Again, like I said before, there's not enough talent to have a split roster. Like, this is why 205 Live isn't two different things. Like, there's just not enough people. If they can get more people, or when the sucky people don't matter as much because there's more things
talented
to get,
people.
Yeah, you can have like a main card person that's not that good, as long as there are other people to make them look good.
Yeah.
And right now, that isn't a thing.
And it's weird because obviously we see all these people and it's like we know that this is a problem, and I'm pretty sure that means that the WWE would know that this is a problem.
Yeah, well, they're like, oh shit, let's like get some new talent quick.
And
I mean, it worked for the UK Championship, right?
Yes and no. This is going to take us into the one that when I was watching it, I'm like, I can't wait until we get to the review and I can talk to Jesse about this. I'm going to quickly run it down, and that is Bray Wyatt versus Finn Balor. Now, this is the first time Jesse has seen the Demon Finn Balor have a wrestling match. And before this match started, and, you know, in the build-up, Jesse was saying to me, he was saying, I need something here to give a shit about Finn Balor going forward. Because everyone's talking about him, you know, Ryan especially, that's the joke we make. And there's literally nothing that the WWE has done to convince me that this guy is worth half of the fucking hype that they have around him. And, you know, aside from having a battle for the longest entrance, I'm not exactly sure what this match would do to sell you, Jesse. I'm gonna quickly run through this, and then I'm gonna, you know, give the microphone to you for a bit, because I am generally interested to see how this match comes off to you. So first up, once we we die of old age, the match starts as both of them are in the ring, and the Demon, Finn Balor, or just Balor as we're told, because we're told that the origins behind...
Even though they call him Finn.
The origins behind his name are there's an Irish legend, which I'm not sure if this is true, but you know what, this is the kayfabe we're going with, that the reason he chose his name is because there's an Irish legend where Finn was a hero who fought this one-eyed demon called Balor, and he's combined these two names into one to represent his split personality. Yeah,
by
he's...
transforming into Balor, he can unleash his personality.
Something, drive the serpent men back to their dimension, to undo the spell of Living Stone cast on his family. So it's like, Finn Balor is told, we're told over the commentary, he has this split personality. And this is the first time that they're ingratiating this knowledge to the WWE universe, because they're like... Because remember, NXT doesn't exist. So they're like, okay, so this guy, he has this split personality. The Finn you've been seeing, that's just it. He's Finn. He's like a guy that's trying to do his wrestling thing really well, but if you go too far, he becomes the Demon Balor. And that's
how when they said they poured that, they said that it was acidic goo. So, like, that was burning his skin, apparently. What, they poured that fucking red paint all over?
I love the fact that, because even though it's fucking pay-per-view, and there's actual blood on their pay-per-view, they can't make any mention towards the word blood. So they're like, that fucking thick, red, viscous liquid, and it's just like, just say what the fuck it is, guys. We all know what it's supposed to symbolize. You could even be like, oh, symbolizing this blood, blah, blah, but no, that's a no-no word. But anyway, so...
They say balls, though.
First thing that the crowd sees, the Demon no-sells the slap from Bray Wyatt. Bray then looks slightly aghast. He's like, what's going on? Yeah, palms are sweaty. But anyway, Bray goes outside the ring, and Balor is hunting him outside the ring. He's like, you ain't going nowhere. Bray seemed out of his depth, at least his character did. He was just like, which is weird, because this cult leader that we've been told has these mystical properties and mystical powers and psychologically fucks with people, because that's his thing. The Demon is, like, too much for him. And we see that, and, I mean, we see that this is, like, I mean, for fuck's sake, I think Bray's first real offense came from a suplex off the apron to the floor, and it's like, before then, it was just like, the Demon was like taking, and he was like being pushed super hard, so there was no doubt in my mind. I'm like, okay, well, fuck, if if Balor, quotation marks, if he can't win this match, then he's fucking dead in the water, because this is everything. If his first match on the main roster where he uses the Demon persona...
It's like when he goes Super Saiyan, like...
Yeah, it's like, man, if fucking Goku fights Frieza, goes Super Saiyan, and Frieza kicks the shit out of him, it's like, well, that's it. It's like...
oh, that's your increase?
Yeah, it's like, oh, wow, so this is the fucking legendary Super Saiyan, and then he just bitch slaps him, and then, fuck, for some reason, Frieza pins him 1, 2, 3.
The bitch slap.
Oh, man. But anyway, so, I mean... Balor was even able to escape the Sister Abigail, and he did his like sling blade. I think they're calling it the sling blade move. But yeah, it's like Bray Wyatt would come in and try and attempt more offense, but it always seemed in each of their encounters that Bray would always come out of it with more damage than he was dealing, and he then did, I don't know what the fuck you call that 4-legged backwards thing. I always make fun of it and say it's the Bray Wyatt spooky walk. But,
it's just spider crap.
He does that, and Balor is unfazed. Which, that fucks with Bray, because, I mean, if you see this dude...
Usually that makes people scared.
If I'm getting into a fight with someone on the side of the road, and then they just fucking do that weird spooky walk...
you kick him in the face.
Yeah, I'll kick him in the face. I'm not going to be like, holy shit, this guy's crazy. I'm like, this guy's an idiot. But, in Bray's mind, that's fucking everything bad you can think of. That's the 9/11 Holocaust. Because when you see that, you break down mentally, apparently. And you're like, this is just fucking the worst thing I've ever seen. But not this time, not to the Demon.
The Demon King.
The Demon King. Sorry, Kane. But,
Yeah, Kane uses the Demon.
Finn Balor would then go and deliver a coup de grace off the top rope to win by pinfall. Now, that's everything in the match. Jesse,
Alright.
Your thoughts?
Well, first off, Finn Balor's entrance, I like it. I like the graphics and I like the smoke. And I think he was trying to do the thing where, like, he would crash down all fours and, like, sneak underneath the fog and appear somewhere else. And I thought that was interesting. And, how when he got into the ring, how he'd like do the whole... He was definitely into the gimmick, and I could appreciate that. So I liked all that about it. Like, it was like, oh, that's interesting. That's a new take on it. So I haven't seen like a wrestler go fully into that. Like last person I saw do anything that kind of that was the black guy from NXT. What's he called?
Apollo Crews? No. You mean Alistair Black?
Mr. Black.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was interesting. I like fucking Bray Wyatt was selling like a champ, like everything. He was like, and I felt like the whole story of the match was like maybe Bray Wyatt has been like trying to like he's knows like, oh man, I can just fuck with people, and he's like, oh man, like he's kind of like the cultist leader that's like, hey, you should all do this because God told me to do this. So, and like he doesn't really believe it himself, but then like, oh, he comes across an actual demon, and like it fucks with him because like, oh shit, I didn't actually want this. This is a bit over my head. I feel like that's the kind of thing they were telling, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like the whole like they're pushing him to be like this super menacing thing, and like Bray Wyatt basically brought it on himself because he like it's like a carry situation almost, where it's like even down to like pouring blood on someone, but the actual match, like fucking nothing. I don't know. Like Finn Balor's he's definitely got like the whole look and like the actions and everything down, but it just doesn't do enough stuff for me to care. It's like you go see a horror movie and then the entire horror movie is just the guy staring at them in like the shrubs, and then it gets to the finale and then the guy just walks away. I don't. There's no payoff. Like there's nothing to like. Oh, he's really fearful. Like he's all bark and no bite.
It's like Halloween 1, Except Michael Myers, even though you see all the perspectives where he's watching everybody, there's no real action to it, and he just shows up at the end, stabs someone once, and leaves. And it's like, that was a lot of build-up to nothing.
It's just the guy with the sword. It's like, great. I don't know. I can see why people like him, and I feel like they just forgive the match and forgive his nothing matches because of how strong his gimmick is.
And I feel like his promo game isn't that strong either.
No, well, I don't. He's all about you can't. I don't know. Especially because you're even when he first says I have demons too, and it's like, oh, he's gonna do the thing. It's like, I don't know.
So,
I feel like he's literally Sandman.
So, my thoughts.
He's just an entrance.
Yeah, my thoughts on this then are: one, is Bray Wyatt completely buried? The fact, don't get me wrong, I personally am on a similar stance to you. I'm happy that Bray Wyatt was willing to put over this guy to such an extent. And if he didn't do that, then I feel like this wouldn't be such a strong showing for Finn Balor. But every time we've seen Bray Wyatt, he's lost. And it's like the one time that he won, and he did it, and I always bring it up because I try to remind myself, in the Elimination Chamber, I was happy that Bray Wyatt became the champion. I was happy for that. I liked that.
Yeah. Because he was doing shit, and he was staying on his own. He was able to do stuff, and he actually did moves.
But now it's like every time we were talking about this thing before with Sasha, it's like he talks such a big game, and he loses. And it's not just that, but every time he loses, it doesn't faze him in any way, and he doesn't change, and he says the same things.
I feel like after this, if Bray Wyatt doesn't change in some way, they're they've lost it, basically. He needs to, react in some way to Finn Balor and then keep that feud going. And, actually, next time there's a match, actually make me care about each side, not just, well, let's see what Finn Balor does.
Yeah, and you know what? Bray Wyatt really needs to look out. And when I say that, I mean, he had a match with The Undertaker. He did lose, and I think that's completely fine. But he had a match with The Undertaker. He is the current version of that Undertaker gimmick. But if you look at Finn Balor, that could be his position just as easily.
I feel like Finn Balor could be more of a Kane, not just because of the demon thing. I feel like, I don't know, because I feel like, it's a bit. Undertaker's usually supposed to, is a bit more held back.
Not only
it's all about the implications.
Not only that, but I feel like if Baron Corbin's new gimmick, his new character persona, it carries over into future iterations, he's the next guy that could be going up against Finn Balor. And even worse for Bray Wyatt, not for me personally, I saw Aleister Black at NXT TakeOver and I'm like, that's the Bray Wyatt I care about. And he's had 2 matches on pay-per-view. And it's just Bray needs to be careful, because if those people, Baron's changing, Alistair might come up one day, and it's just if this is happening, he's going to be left behind, and then he's not going to be special.
Man, I feel like Bray Wyatt he could definitely come back and be something, because his gimmick is still strong, and
his gimmick is the only thing that's keeping him alive at this point.
Yeah, he needs to make that even a bit more potent. Than
people wouldn't put up their phones if they weren't into the gimmick.
Well,
don't get me wrong, I do. They are trained. The WWE audience, they do that regardless of.
And when we went to the fucking events, we were doing the exact same thing. It's just because we're there in the this is what. Yeah,
you're in the moment. But it's
fuck it, yeah.
If Bray Wyatt, if people just stop caring and they start having this feeling that we're having, where it's just oh, who's versing Bray Wyatt? Why? Let's see what the other person can do and what they bring to the table. Then the WWE creative will feel that, and they're like, okay, well, we'll put you in less important feuds over and over and over.
Or they'll push him too much, and then we'll just hate him.
Yeah. So, I mean...
one way or the other with them.
And at the end of the day, if someone's like, hey, do you want to see Finn Balor versus Baron Corbin? Or do you want to see Finn Balor versus Aleister Black? And then they're just Or would you like Finn Balor versus Bray Wyatt? The other two are immediately more appealing. And so that's why it's just like, okay, something needs to change. But the second question I had for you is, does Finn Balor survive in your eyes now?
Alright, he needs to wrestle someone more competent than Bray Wyatt if I'm to give a shit.
Like a Randy Orton?
Yeah, like, I feel like his gimmick is strong enough to carry a match, but his wrestling isn't.
Mm.
And people say, oh man, he's like, they had a promo beforehand, like just gushing about how good Finn Balor was, and I'm like, okay, I'm waiting to see it, and then it's like he did 2 moves, and then like that was it. So I'm like, okay, alright, I've seen John Cena do more than this. And
the worst part about it is he's not always the demon persona, which means that one of the major things that you liked, he's just going to go back to being regular Irish guy.
I mean, fucking Joseph Park, right? Either what, Joseph Park or Abyss, it's like, fuck yeah, I get to see that guy do things. I feel like Finn Balor wants that, but it's just not there. Because, like, Joseph Park, he may be an average wrestler, but he's willing to throw himself into thumbtacks.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, it kind of makes up for, like, you know, just him being a monster heel.
And his two characters are so wildly different.
Yeah, and they're so well done and well executed, and they have such a strong personality. Like, you know exactly what they're about. Like, you see Joseph Park, and just the way he acts is like, just his manner is like, yeah, that's I know exactly what you were about.
Yeah.
And he's so lovable as well. And then, like, Abyss is like, I'm fucking Abyss, I'm gonna destroy you. But then he also has, like, a weird, like, half-jokey style, which is also great.
So, I mean, we need to talk about our next match and move on, and unfortunately, that means we're going to have to talk about Sheamus and Cesaro versus Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships. I mean, when I hear this and I see this happening, first thing I think is, well, the WWE tag teams, Seth and Dean again, they're getting fucking pushed so fast. Like, they sign up and they become a tag team, immediately get a title shot. And I'm not one of those people that's, you know, super... If I know that there are things that exist outside the kayfabe, but if your kayfabe's like, hey man, you have to work for this title shot, then at least try and present that, because it's like...
Yeah, all I can think for that is, like, well, because they used to be a tag, so maybe they have, like, some carryover or something like that. Like, maybe they have, like, legacy points they can cash in or some shit.
Yeah, maybe people are like, well, they're already established, so this, you know, we'll do this. But, Cesaro versus Seth and Dean is interesting. Let me present to you the, you know, reason why I say that, Jesse. Because this match only has any fucking worth whatsoever if you care about the Shield. Now, is there someone that you like in the Shield, Jesse?
I used to like Dean Ambrose when he did the little flippy thing, but he stopped doing that, so I was like, well, what's the point of you? And then I used to like Roman Reigns before he was, like...
what he is.
Before he was Roman Reigns.
Yep.
Seth Rollins I always thought was just like a nothing person.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's just like, I'm the guy that does the moves, and that's it. He's like, what if Bret Hart wasn't from the 80s?
He was like, what if Bret Hart wasn't as charismatic?
What if Bret Hart thought he was Triple H?
Yeah, that's the one. Because, man, if you do not care about the Shield, then the fucking half of this match is just gone. Because the whole thing is like, man, Shield, the band is back together, and
that
it's like,
entire fucking thing was just so painful to watch.
The thing that
because it's like, oh, are they gonna fucking team up? Oh shit! And like, there's that one part where like the guy they give me that like, oh, I brought you out here so we can become Shield again. And he puts his fucking fist out, and then fucking Dean Ambrose walks away. But then Dean Ambrose walks back and is like, yeah, you know what? He puts his fist in, and then fucking Seth Rollins like, you know what? Nah, even though I did this meeting, I'm gonna walk away now. But then he comes back, and then they fight for some reason. and then they're teammates. It's like, what the fuck is this?
It's fucking time, Phil, is what it is, because...
It's like nothing happens, and then, they're a team now for SummerSlam. Good thing we got that in.
I mean, and it's not doing Sheamus and Cesaro any favours either, because, like, fucking Cesaro was selling for things that missed by a mile. Like, the first part of the match, I'm usually kind of forgiving in this, because I'm like, okay, obviously you don't want to destroy your opponent, like, and just fucking kill them in a match. But when you see the camera show that they miss by, like, such a wide margin, and then the other dude just sells.
Did you see that flaccid swing he did?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe like 3/4 of rotation and stopped. Because like, I think he was like, I'm banned from doing that move because it's too over or something.
Yeah, he's like,
that's what the memo he received was.
I don't think that's a memo. I think that's just him. He's like, I'm gonna stop doing that because I'm a heel now, and it's like it's not my job to get cheered. And then halfway through that, he's like, fuck, and then he just immediately goes into a sharpshooter because he's like, what can I fucking do as a submission from here?
Fucking sharpshooter.
But I mean. There was that one where we both laughed at, where it was just like Cesaro were able to catch Seth awfully, and they just fucking throw him on the floor.
Dude, Seth underjumped that though. Like Seth, like he was hitting enough speed up in the ring, and he sort of just like flopped out, and it was like, "Catch me, boys!" And then they grabbed him. It was like, "I guess we'll just throw him away."
Was Dean dead for most of this match?
Yes, he was like, he was. I think he was just like hit by someone, and then he was hit by a brogue kick outside the ring, because you see Sheamus walk around the ring, brogue kick fucking Ambrose, and then walk away, and Ambrose is just on the ground, lying there for about fucking 10 minutes, while Seth Rollins is getting his ass handed to him.
Cesaro does get major points from me, though, for fucking running into the crowd mid-match and just breaking that beach ball.
Grabbing the beach ball, like, fuck this shit! It's great.
Man. And then, I think it was time for, Seth and Dean to make their comeback, because immediately after a certain point in the match, they're like, okay, now it's time for us to get in all of our offense. Like, Dean did that double axe handle from the top rope onto Cesaro when they were going after Seth outside the ring. And, like, Seth and Dean did that double suicide dive, and, like, then they would stomp Sheamus in the corner. It was pretty much their match from then on out. But, Dean was caught by that giant swing into that sharpshooter, and then it was the sharpshooter into the crossface, and Dean did not submit for a very, very long time. In fact, I feel like maybe Seth was supposed to get in there and break it up, or maybe they're just showing the resilience of the Dean Ambrose character, but those submissions were a long...
I thought it feels like, because the commentators are like, oh man, Dean Ambrose is so... Like, I feel like maybe they were doing, like, a sanity thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, this is what their tag team's going to be about. But because they're both sort of like, oh, we're fucking crazy. It's like, we're going to just take as much punishment as possible, and that's how we're going to do it.
Well, yeah, because, like, I mean, Sheamus came in with that clothesline and then went to pin Dean straight after that, and he was out. But I swear that was fucking 3. I could have sworn that I heard the 3 hits, but,
yeah.
Whatever. There was that one move, which even though, it didn't look that great, just physically it was impressive, where Seth jumped from the ropes to the Hurricane Rana around Cesaro's neck, and, he then did, he did that around Cesaro's neck, off the top rope, into Sheamus, who was carrying Dean at the time. And I was like, man, that's fucking risky as shit. And then, Seth went around super kicking everybody, and Dean...
Man, kicking was like the theme of the fucking...
The theme of Brooklyn, yeah.
Fucking kicks, everyone kick.
Dean would then hit the Dirty Deeds on Sheamus for the pin. And just like that, Seth and Dean are our new Raw Tag Team Champions.
And then they fist bump, then it cuts to where there were 3 people fist bumping, and it's like, oh, that's awkward. Fucking.
Well, it's Dean's first tag title, Because during the Shield run, he had the US Championship.
Back in the day, he was the smart one.
Yeah.
Everyone forgets that he wasn't unstable. He was the one that
he was the ringleader.
He's the mastermind behind it. And Roman Reigns is just the brawn, and Seth Rollins is the one that gets in there and gets all the technical shit done.
A simpler time.
He can't fucking do a pedigree to save his life, though.
Oh, boy. I'm willing... you know what? That match was average, but I'm willing to say that there were things in it that I was like, you know what, that's not a waste of my time, but I wasn't into the whole angle.
I like Cesaro, and I can watch the Shield wrestle, because you're going to see some cool stuff, because they're both pretty good.
Yeah, and they've definitely got that chemistry as a tag team. Obviously, they need to, start going back and figuring out, making themselves, they're a little rusty as a tag team. And with those moves missing and by such a wide margin, or maybe it was just the camera, but man, I noticed it there more than any other match. Like that first half, it was rough. But yeah, not awful. Our next match, and that's right, we're still going on.
Oh,
we're still fucking pushing forward through this pay-per-view. Was Shane McMahon came out to be the special guest referee for Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles. Now, we've seen this matchup so many times, and I think it's fair to say that this is the best match between Kevin and AJ, with the one exception...
considering that one ended with late.
Yeah. With the one exception that, this is, if you minus the dumb getting Shane involved by hitting him with various things, I felt that kind of brought this match down.
The problem with the entire thing is that Shane McMahon is supposed to be the referee that, I could take a few hits, actually, and keep on doing it. But then he can't. So, what's the fucking point?
I will say that they started it off strong with, Shane splitting them up. Because the bell hadn't rung yet, and I was like, okay, well, this could be interesting. And we had a great face buster from AJ. But I mean, as I said, this was the best of their matches, but it's just weird that the gimmick with Shane, it hurt more than helped. It's
yeah, just sort of got in the way of everything.
And it's it always...
It gave him an opportunity to have multiple false endings, which is... it's not a good thing to have.
And don't get me wrong, it's just... It always felt forced. It never felt natural whenever Shane got hit or something like that. It always felt like they went out of their way.
It's against the whole fucking point of the fucking event.
Mm.
It's hey, he's supposed to not go down. He's supposed to get back up because he's supposed to be a wrestler. But he's just doing the exact same thing. And
we had great... calf crushes from AJ, and then, they would go into Kevin Owens,
they were fucking amazing.
Tapping out, and Shane isn't there, and it's this is precisely why we brought you in, though, because you're supposed to call this.
The same thing happened with, the other way around, with Owens, should have won.
And it was you were mentioning just by joke that this wouldn't happen if Sid Justice was here, but I mean...
Sid Justice would have gotten that shit done.
We got a great Styles Clash sequence, and, we had the bottom rope shenanigans. Part of me really likes the fact that, that kind of stuff Shane did well, where it's he's no, I saw that. That doesn't count. Don't end it there. We're not ending on this fucking schmoz of a finish. This is fucking...
When he was there, he was great, but...
Yeah.
It would take long lapses of being there,
And, what else can I say? We've seen this match, I think it's 3 times already, but it's AJ Styles would, do the Styles Clash into the pin to retain the WWE United States Championship. I think I'm going to move on, because, we've already talked about these two meeting up many times.
Is dead. Yet.
Yeah, you know what? And that might be the best thing to come out of this, the fact that it's you know what, AJ Styles, he's still got it. It's just he needs to turn it on sometimes.
Also, Kevin Owens did 2 suplexes, that's all I can remember that he did. That was interesting to me.
Kevin Owens is great as a personality. I will say that. Like, everything he does made me, like, chuckle, and the times that he would shout out to the people, how he'd just be like, no, shut up, that was three!
Like, he's a really good heel, just like, even if, like, you look up his stuff, like, he just talks to the audience and stuff like that, like, it's all great.
Yeah, and I
very
really...
good personality, but, like, yeah, I need to see more of him.
Our next match was one of the two main events, so the co-main event.
Jesus Christ.
Oh boy. We had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jinder Mahal for the WWE Championship. I still don't get it. Like, I mean, I don't know why we're here. I don't know.
What are we fighting for?
Yeah, man. It's like, I feel like fucking Zero here. It's just like, oh, what is happening?
This is the darkest timeline. We thought it was John Cena. No. We were wrong.
And that's just it. It's like, if it was Shinsuke Nakamura versus John Cena, I would still be like, fucking John Cena. But it's like...
I mean, we saw this match
but I would
last week.
Yeah, and it's like, I would understand it. But Jinder Mahal? And it's like, okay, what's he going to do then? Because, keep in mind, Jinder Mahal has just survived a Money in the Bank cash-in attempt. And it's like, okay, so, fuck, every time he's getting all this stuff.
Okay, so part of me feels like, you know, if that he could be something, but he's just not anything. Like, if he was like in the mid card, right, and he came back, it's like, oh, Jinder Mahal's got a new facelift, and he came out and like he won the IC belt, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like he lost it, but he wanted to get you know. If they didn't push him as hard as they are, it would make more sense, and it would endear me to him because it's like, oh man, he's trying his hard, and he's like, because the other guy.
We like Rusev.
Yeah, like Rusev, like he come up, he tries his best, and like he's still a heel, but he's like, hey, I'm fucking gonna do it. But like Rusev, of course, has the
wrestling acumen,
good at wrestling, but I know Jinder Mahal could be something, and like you can make him like a minor like a little face,
and it's that overnight push that he had. Yeah, that literal overnight from jobber into world title holder.
It couldn't hurt to fucking give him some training, too.
Not to mention that it's like, okay, he has, and I'm sorry, Jinder, man, but he has no charisma. He does the same fucking promo every time. Every time, without exception. And he can't wrestle. And it's
his intro's cool. I like his little, like, he walks out and, like, the thing grows, but that's, like, basically everything.
And it's like, okay, every match, the Singh brothers fucking outshine him, which they shouldn't do.
Yeah. Every match, I'm like, this is gonna be shit, it's gonna be shit, it's gonna be shit. I get to it, it's like, okay, let's just find something. And it's like, the Singh brothers will be cool, or there might be a move that he does, and I'm like, hey, that was something.
And is it just me, or does every match end the same way with him? Like, it's always the Kalas that he does, that he picks them up and then drops them with that move, and it's like...
I don't know if that's his fault, or if that's just the WWE telling him how to end it.
Yeah, but even so, it's not helping. It's like, every match is like, okay, it's the same match without any wrestling. Every time. It's like, he has no moves that create any form of excitement or impact, and the ones that he attempts never look great. It's so bizarre to me that they've gone with this. And it's just like, as we were talking about earlier, there's this like roll-on snowball effect of just like, I'm not even sure if... I'm not angry. I just don't get it. It's like, there's nothing there for me. And it's just not entertaining. And so it's like, every time I see him, and I always know whenever I get a SmackDown pay-per-view, this is going to be my main event. This is going to be the end of my show. We're building up to a Jinder Mahal match. And it's like, that is so bizarre to me. And it's like, Shinsuke is so full of character. He's charismatic, and everything he does is like, it's central to his character. And it's entertaining. And it's like, Shinsuke his character is much larger than life. And when they put him across the ring from Jinder, who's nothing, it just shows those flaws even more with Jinder. And it's like, they're not doing anything to build him up or make him more impressive in anyone's eyes. And they're like, yeah, but if we put him in these matches, it will give him that level of star power. And I will say, compared to the other matches of the night, it did feel different when it was those two going out there. So, you know, they're getting there with him. They're doing something. But whether or not that's him or just everything surrounding the match and the building of it, I'm not sure. Like,
I feel like making him fight, like having him fight Shinsuke, it's a really bad move because like there are some wrestlers that can make other wrestlers look good, and I don't think Shinsuke is one of them.
Yeah, because Shinsuke outshines a lot of people.
Yeah,
and it's like Shinsuke's personality and his character are like he's meant to outshine other people, and that's like his character. So when his character's not doing that, then Shinsuke feels off. And it's like, you know, Shinsuke did his come on taunt like twice, and when Jinder did it, it didn't have that same feeling as the other day in NXT TakeOver when Hideo Itami did that. And it was like, it's just something there. And, you know, he needs to either find that it factor that other people, or he needs to find something that really suits him. And I'm sure there will be something because, like, you know...
Yeah, well, usually you'll find that if once they're given some creative freedom, and I don't know if he's been given that.
And that's, like, that's it. I'm not sure who's at fault here, but I will tell you one thing. That was an awful triangle hold from Jinder. Like how Shinsuke was, I'm going to do the triangle hold on his arm, and you're watching that and you're like, oh, Jinder, oh, what are you doing? And it was like, I think you made the comment where it's just like, he's going to hurt somebody one day, like if he doesn't get better with this.
One day Jinder's going to kill someone.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh man, that is not like how I should be feeling here. And you know, we get fucking, the commentary doesn't help. But I will say that I like the fact that they showed that it had that international audience, how it's like, here's the Indian commentators, and here's the Japanese commentators. So it's like, this is a worldwide match. This is like something.
Yeah, that was fun to see.
And that might be why it had that different feeling. But like, I mean, then you cut to fucking JBL saying shit like swag skate, and I'm like, oh man.
Dead memes.
Yeah, Shinsuke then destroyed the fucking Singh brothers.
And fucking Singh brothers, they're trying there.
And you know, Jinder then capitalizes with the Kalas and pinfall, and I'm like, well, that's done. And it's like, where does Jinder go from here?
Everyone's like, well, why?
Yeah, like that's it. And people's like, what happens now?
It's like, what if we pushed Asuka, but Asuka has no talent?
Yeah, and they're just like, are we doing this so that John Cena versus him? Because you know what? And this might sound crazy, so I mean, I might have to get those fucking calm down injections, but it's just like, I don't see John Cena beating Jinder Mahal at the moment. That might sound crazy.
Well, here's the thing, right? John Cena is all about his push, and Jinder Mahal is all about his push. And his push is better right now.
And it's like, if John Cena wins, he will eclipse Ric Flair's world title thing, so there is that somewhere down the road. But...
If he's such a cheap fucking dude, it's, oh yeah, I did it fighting fucking Jinder Mahal.
And that's just it. It's like,
good job.
Jinder has this massive fucking push behind him. The person that beats him is going to be hailed as the fucking hero. And if John Cena does it...
John Cena very well.
But if it's like, if John Cena does it, I don't think he's going to get that same response, and it would feel wasted almost, because they're like...
Yeah, but do WWE care?
And that's what it's all going to come down to. Our final match, which people can finally go, man, this is a long fucking 6 hours. You forgot about, because of how long the pay-per-view was.
Yeah, I was like, wait, oh shit, yeah, that thing. And okay, so I'm a rather big fan of Samoa Joe, and I forgot that his match was in there, and I was like, oh yeah, because this is good. It's a fucking fatal 4-way, and it's not going to be good, and you know it's not going to be good, So that's like, you might think, oh, well, then anything is good will impress you. No! It's not how it works. It just makes you more agitated because, like, oh man, look at this great talent that they're wasting on this match.
We have our fatal four-way to determine who is going to be the WWE Universal Champion. And the added stipulation is, if Brock Lesnar loses, he will leave the WWE.
So, like, guess who doesn't lose?
So, I had thought, okay, but the only reason they're adding that stipulation is because Brock wants to do something else. Like, maybe he wants to go to the UFC.
Yeah, that's what you'd hope, right?
And so I'm like, okay, so that makes sense. So it came down to Jesse and I talking, okay, who's going to beat Brock Lesnar? And we came to the decision that it's like, it's probably going to be Strowman because he seems to be the guy the WWE is going with at the moment.
Yeah, I don't know why.
So the match starts up. Strowman comes out, followed by Joe, followed by Roman, and followed by Brock, the champion. Now, Brock doesn't have to be involved in the pin decision to lose the title, so everyone's like, okay, this could be something, because Brock could, be involved completely elsewhere, and then Samoa Joe could pin Roman Reigns, and then that's it. Has to give it over.
Yeah.
So the match starts. Brock goes after Samoa Joe. Roman Reigns goes after Braun Strowman. But this would
Why? Why? I don't know.
Why? Yeah, I don't know. Actually, Braun Strowman and Samoa Joe do have that history.
Yeah, but everyone has history with...
Everyone. Yeah, and that's the thing we're talking about. They're saying, man, Roman has done this. Strowman has done this. Joe has done this. And then you made the comment, it's like, yeah, but Brock's done all of that. Like, they're like, oh man, like, Samoa Joe has choked people out. And it's like, yeah, Brock's done that. It's like, oh, Braun Strowman has gone on a massive warpath, destroying people in his way. And it's like, yeah, but Brock's done that. Roman Reigns beat The Undertaker.
Oh, yeah,
yeah, Brock.
Who broke his streak to swimming with? Oh, yeah, it was fucking Brock Lesnar, that's right.
And that's just it. And it's like, okay, great.
It's like everyone's riding the coattails of Brock Lesnar.
Now,
let's not go for him.
I'm going to, say something weird at the end of this. But, so anyway, Roman spears Brock Lesnar through the barricade outside the ring. And to be honest, I feel like out of everyone here, Samoa Joe was kind of the background noise.
Yeah. He'd run up, try to choke you out, then run away.
Yeah, like, if you were left unguarded, he would choke you out. And that's his thing. And that would be it. And aside from that, there were no real big power plays here for Samoa Joe.
It's literally, well, we have him, might as well use him.
Braun,
how do we use him? Well, I don't know.
Braun Strowman, on the other fucking hand...
Just fucking every single time he's like, oh man, let's just fucking push Braun Strowman as much as possible.
Strowman power slammed Brock through the announcer table twice.
And picked up the other announcer table and threw that on him.
When fucking Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns were going at each other outside the ring, Strowman picked up the announcer chair and fucking threw it at them.
Yeah.
Strowman flipped that announcer table on Lesnar.
Yeah,
so he couldn't get rescued by the EMTs. Fucking Strowman hit Joe and Roman with those fucking steel steps. And multiple times. Holy shit. Like, Braun Strowman was doing everything here, and the crowd was eating it up. They loved it.
There was one cool moment I saw where, after he had flipped the table onto him, and he was staying there, and then you just see in the background... It's just Paul Heyman just freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, Paul Heyman doing his amazing, manager selling once again.
Half the time I fucking hate Paul Heyman, half the time I really like him.
And I feel that's because he's a heel.
Yeah, I hope it's because all the heel stuff he does I like, and then all the other stuff is like, fuck off.
Well, yeah, I mean,
just go to the same promo. Is that part of your heel being boring as shit?
Well, that's the thing, we've seen... ECW Paul Heyman, and we know that you give him...
I've seen Bobby Heenan.
Yes, I'm not going to make the comparisons here, but I am going to say that if you give Paul Heyman a microphone and you give him a minute, he'll fill that minute with anything. It'll be like, he could talk about anything for a minute, and it would sound good.
Yeah, but do some of the same stuff every minute.
And that's it. And that's what makes me think that maybe he's doing the whole, this is my client, Brock, and he does that every time. Not only for the chant prospect, because he knows the crowd are fucking, sheep to that, but because he knows that everyone's going to hate that and get sick of it. Because they're like, oh, here he comes, he's going to do the fucking thing again.
I hope that he's that smart.
The only reason I'm giving him this, benefit of the doubt is because I know his wrestling mind and I've seen him in ECW and some of the stuff, and it's just like, I feel, my opinion, that he's smart enough to know how to play with the audience sometimes.
I don't know. I think it's like, I miss the old days of like the Bobby Heenan style heel manager where it's like, he's like goes on commentating and he's just an asshole like everything, and it's great, and he's just like pushing the wrong thing. Like in Jesse Ventura, how he's just like, yeah man, fucking cheating is the best. Why would you not cheat? It's part of the sport. It's like, that kind of stuff where it's like they're being like legit about how much of an asshole they are, and it's sort of like a part of like their like, yeah, this is how you wrestle, right?
Well, Hogan rakes the back, and I never hear anybody talk about that.
Dude, it's fucking true. Fuck Hogan.
Yeah. Oh, man. But, like, Roman Reigns would eventually make his inevitable comeback. He would pick up the steps and hit Strowman in the ear, which would cause him to bleed.
Yeah. He was bleeding some sort of vitae.
Now, fucking Brock Lesnar eventually got saved from the wreckage of the tables by the EMTs, and he was wheeled out on a stretcher.
It's good. I like the goodbye chant.
And when that happened, I thought, okay, maybe Braun Strowman's...
One of two things happened. Either they give you updates saying that he's badly injured and, like, Braun Strowman has literally retired him because he cannot beat, or nothing happens and they're quiet, and I'm like, well, fuck.
Yeah. And we knew it was going to happen, and sure enough, Brock comes back. And fucking Superman punches for all, apparently, because Roman was going fucking crazy.
He's like appearing and just punching people and running away.
I feel like Roman did one Samoan drop to Samoa Joe, and the rest of his repertoire was just Superman punches. And it was just like...
Yeah, the Superman punches are illegal because they're close fists.
Now...
Like,
the story then became...
I mean, yeah, no elimination, but fucking hell.
The story then became Brock Lesnar being fucking petty to Braun Strowman because of all the shit that happened. And it was like, oh, Braun's about to pin Joe, so fucking Brock pulls him out. He pulls Joe out, and he's like, oh, you fucking didn't get it, did you?
Part where, like, the ref gets pulled out, and the ref's like, what the fuck? It's like, well, whatever, man. And Roman's just like, really?
Yeah. And that's just it. And boy, oh boy, we got fucking 3 Superman punches in succession to Brock Lesnar, where Brock Lesnar no-sold those into an immediate F5 to Roman for the pin, where he won 1, 2, 3.
How do you get Brock Lesnar over? Everyone's complaining about him. Well, let's just give him something to fucking not complain about.
And here's my thing. I know it's going to sound weird, but how much... Well, because I'm thinking back to this now. How much did Brock Lesnar fucking get pushed in this match? Because let's just run off some of the shit that happened.
Oh, yeah,
he got speared through a barricade. Everyone teamed up against him. He got slammed through a table twice. He got a table flipped on him. He got carried out by the EMTs, but then he fucking walked back. And then he fucking got 3 Superman punches.
I've seen, like, 2 other people do that, and it was like fucking John Cena and Hulk Hogan.
Exactly. And it's like... And then he won. And it was like, holy shit, all of you...
And Ring fucking spinning his arm around and pointing to his ear, and people were cheering at him, and he was like, going to the different squares, and he was like, oh, well, this side? Is this side louder than that side?
Now, I'm not going to lie, and this is going to seem somewhat hypocritical of me. Critically, I think that this match is awful, because, Roman...
Well, there's not much going on.
Because it's like, okay, well, Samoa Joe he gets nothing out of this, and in fact, he looked like he was the person that was out of place almost. Not like out of place physically or aggressively, but
he... all of Joe's stuff.
Yeah, Braun Strowman had all of the spots, you remember. Roman Reigns was doing all the damage with people, and his Superman punch is fucking nothing now. It means nothing. Yeah. It's not like... I mean, if you can take 3 of them to your fucking face and then immediately turn around...
Brock Lesnar taking 3 of them to the face, right?
True, but then he did Superman punch Samoa Joe and Braun Strowman, and they would quickly come back in.
Well, I mean, that's how good they all are. It's like fucking Titans, man.
But that means that if you can't withstand a Superman punch, you're not worth being in the title picture.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, that finishing move doesn't mean that much. And boy, did you fucking use that like it was the only thing you have, like it was the only thing you have.
I mean, he had spears, but that would kill him.
And it's like, Strowman did all that shit, and he had all that monster heel stuff, which was great, which turned out to be nothing, because fucking Brock just walked back in, and it might just be that that's just Brock.
Oh, but he was dizzy, though. He was like staggering and shit, but he still fucking won.
And then Brock Lesnar wins, not only retains the WWE Universal title, but his stipulation meant nothing. He's fucking there. Yeah. And in hindsight, it's like...
That's just to raise the stakes and make it even more impressive. Like, all this was on the line and he got the job done.
And that's just it. It's like, does this match exist only to make Brock Lesnar get put over more? Which means...
I feel like you know who's going to be fighting Jinder Mahal.
Well, luckily they're on separate brands, because fuck... I mean, oh my god.
That'd be the classic.
Can you imagine, like, WrestleMania unification match? Jinder Mahal beats Brock Lesnar. Oh my goodness.
Just split them up again. Let's not have another reunification match.
All I can say is, similar to what I was saying about fucking Jinder Mahal, whoever beats Brock Lesnar is getting a hell of a fucking push. And maybe that's Finn Balor.
Or, what if they... Oh, fuck. What if they bill him as like the new Undertaker, where it's like he only shows up for WrestleMania and he always wins?
That would be interesting.
Like start a new streak, you know?
That would be interesting, and
it
would suit Brock in his...
Fantasy,
it would suit his like role where it's like they pay him on a per show basis.
I fight once per
He's a prize fighter.
Yeah. So and it changes that kind of thing.
The whole dynamic.
Yeah, so and it's no longer like this mystical fucking dead man. It's like a prize fighting MMA like guy that's like beating like fucking everyone.
Go fight Wolfgang Krauser.
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, so I mean, here's where the hypocritical part comes in. I enjoyed that last match. I thought that was an entertaining match because it's like I saw all this shit happening.
Yeah,
and like, you know what?
It wasn't technical. It wasn't anything, but it was definitely like an 80s match. You know, like kind of like crazy shit happening.
And once again, it had that big match feel to it because of all the people involved. And it was like I went in expecting the worst because I'm like, this could only end in fucking abject failure, which ultimately it did. Once again, looking at it critically and from a story perspective,
nothing changes.
Because it's like nothing happened and Brock Lesnar is even more powerful. So it's just like, okay. But yeah, I enjoyed that. So I'm going to say that SummerSlam, first of all, way too fucking long. Way too long. Don't do that again.
Cut half the stuff and then add the pre-shows to it.
Yeah, cut it in half and then, you know, this is going to be the exact same thing to expect from Survivor Series because now they're billing it as...
Survivor Series has like fucking 50-minute matches because there's 5 people per team.
Yeah, and they're going to be like... this is going to be the thing for the Big Four because now we're getting SmackDown and Raw. They cross over and those both... On the Big Four, they all show up. So that's why it's like these Big Four are the ones that... The price on like...
Better take the day off or else you're not watching it.
Exactly. You really have to dedicate yourself to that. But, and then after that, they're like, check out the Mae Young Classic, bracketology. And I'm like, nope. It's too much wrestling for one day. And it's just, you know, you can really wear out your audience that way. On the other hand, I will say this. While a lot of the matches were completely meh and average, the ones that did shine. And overall, even the ones that were average, they weren't egregiously bad. It's just, it was such a long... stairway to climb, And it's just like, once you got to the top, you're like, there wasn't anything there, but
It's almost like they knew that they went for so long, so like, well, let's just have some, like, break matches in, so like, if you're bored, you just go out and like, do whatever. It's like, they put in like, multiple piss break matches.
This is and the thing is, they're like, this is the last match, just fucking, we don't care what you do to the ring. Just fuck everything up and just make it make it go out with a bang. And, I felt that it was entertaining enough that, it was good. So, just looking back on everything quickly, I think that SummerSlam 2017 was good.
It had heart.
Yeah, and it's like, there are things in it that are worth watching. It's just like, I can't recommend it to anyone based on the amount of time you'd have to put in to watch all the things. 6 hours is no joke, people.
You'd like to pick a couple that are worth seeing. And
this will be Jesse and I's quick rundown of the good, bad, or that'll be the ratings as I quickly go through them. Miz and the Miztourage versus Jason Jordan and the Hardy Boys. I say good.
Yeah, good.
Neville versus Akira Tozawa. I say good.
Good, yeah.
The Usos versus the New Day. I'm even going to say that's good.
Yeah, I suppose.
And trust me, that's, as I said before, I'm just giving credit where credit's due. I'm not... The New Day, they exceeded my expectations, and I'm going to...
Well, it wasn't terrible, was it?
Yeah. John Cena versus Baron Corbin,
Yeah.
Natalya versus Naomi,
Oh, I might even say bad.
Like... Yeah, you know what? You're completely right. That is bad. The only reason I was saying I don't care is because I don't care about anyone in that. But even, it's like, well, where do they go from there? So I'm going to say bad. Enzo in the Shark Cage with Big Cass versus Big Show, bad.
I would say just because the spectacle of a man greasing himself up.
While that is something funny to say, it's just like, oh god, this is going to go on again, so I say bad. Randy Orton versus Rusev. I'm almost tempted to say bad from a waste of time perspective, but it was over and done so quickly that it's more like,
I mean, do you want to see an RKO?
Yeah, that's it. It's like, hey man, do you kids like internet memes? Sasha Banks versus Alexa Bliss. Bray Wyatt versus Finn Balor. Like, it's not good enough to be good. I see Finn...
Man, I wanted to like it just because I liked it. It was such a strong... I don't know.
Cesaro versus Seth and Dean.
I reckon that was good.
Yeah, it's like, that's tough. That's like the scale between and good. I'm going to be generous and say it is good because I do like the Sheamus and Cesaro tag team, and you know what? There was enough in there to go take a look at it, even if you just see the highlights. It's interesting enough, and that fucking beach ball break easily takes it up to worth it. Kevin versus AJ with Shane McMahon as the special referee. If you have to watch a Kevin versus AJ match, this is the one to watch, I'd say, but it's like... Shinsuke Nakamura versus Jinder Mahal, it's not even like it's awful, it's just why.
Yeah, it's bad. It doesn't... Shinsuke it's not good.
Yeah.
Shinsuke match, it's not a good Jinder Mahal match, it's nothing.
It's not a good match.
The Singh brothers get fucking shit kicked again, but like... What? If you're gonna watch a fucking Jinder Mahal match, watch the fucking Punjabi prison match.
You know what? I never thought I'd fucking say it, but yeah, do that over this. And Braun Strowman versus Samoa Joe versus Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar in the Fatal 4-Way. I'm gonna say that
was good just because of how
the spectacle.
Don't look at it as a wrestling match. Look at it as like just fucking stupid fun. It's like, hey, look at the dumb shit that's happening.
So that was the review for WWE's SummerSlam in 2017.
Mostly a little bit good, a little bit shit.
It was too long, but some of the stuff, it didn't feel like it was awful, which is saying something positive about a WWE pay-per-view. So, luckily, there's not going to be...
That being said, just watch the fucking NXT review.
Yeah, watch TakeOver instead, and you'll have a much better time.